I would love to talk about growing your monthly traffic from 20K to 1.5 million. That's obviously like very impressive growth. When did you join Ahrefs?
Almost 6 years ago.
6 years.
So this year it would be 6 years.
Okay, cool. So when you joined, was this your main like task? I guess were you about growing? Were you about content marketing, blogging, growing traffic like this?
That wasn't my I didn't have any specific task, which is the beauty of Ahrefs, in my opinion. When I joined the company, the only kind of goal or task that our founder and CEO Dmitry kind of gave to me was to help grow the company, to help get more customers, get more revenue, and basically like all around grow the company, make the product better and such. So it turned out that content turned out to be a great way to get more customers, to educate those customers, to get brand exposure, to establish thought leadership. So kind of naturally, we started pouring more and more resources into creating content. Mm-hmm. And that's how we ended up here.
Mm-hmm. Was your background in content before?
Yeah, I had a personal blog. This is how Dmitry found me in the first place. I had a personal blog. I was developing some WordPress plugins, not myself, but like hiring people to develop WordPress plugins, and I was selling them. And I was quite a prolific guest blogger back in the days. So I wrote guest articles for many of the like top marketing blogs back in the days. And yeah, it was only natural that when I joined Ahrefs, I started creating content or starting like looking in this direction to grow our content marketing operations. So yeah, I kind of had this kind of experience.
I was going to ask you, what was your goal of growing, I guess, the whole blog to this level of traffic? But I think I do know the answer, and especially because you're saying that my goal is how do I grow the company? And I watched the beginning of that blogging for business course, which is awesome. And it just
thank you.
And it just says, one of the things you said was like, traffic is a vanity metric. Right at the beginning, you need to be focusing on acquiring customers.
So yeah, here's a fun fact. I told you that our blog is getting 1.5 million views per month. Mm-hmm. That is actually a statistic from, I think it was July. And the interesting fact about this statistic is that before July, we didn't even have any form of analytics. So I didn't know really? How much traffic our blog is getting. Yeah. So so we installed self-hosted analytics. So not like Google Analytics or any other like third-party company that would kind of have access to this data, but we installed some self-hosted analytics where our data would belong to us. And we did that because we wanted to measure something within the product actually. And naturally we went to check like how much traffic our blog is getting. So it was like an interesting number, but it didn't change anything for us. So we were still working on our blog and we were happy about our content, and the team was excited anyway, even without knowing that we were getting so much traffic. So we got the number 1.5. Cool, nice. And I don't think I ever since looked again at this number. So I don't know if it dropped, if it grew, doesn't matter.
That's amazing. That's really interesting. People love that number, I guess. It's a big number and everyone's.
Yeah, so I'm happy that we were able to get it because it is good like for like a story. So we were able to grow our blog until that number. But other than that, it's not very useful.
That makes an interesting question. Like, what was your goal with making content? And I mean, what were you tracking for each one? How did you measure success of things you wrote?
There's no single way to measure success because success is quite an ambiguous thing. Like success is different for different people. Some companies would prioritize growth at all costs. They would be burning money. They would be taking on investment and burning through all of it just to retain like specific growth. Other companies, for example, I think Basecamp is one of the most vocal companies about it. They prefer to work not 5-day work weeks, but 4-day work weeks, if I'm not mistaken them with anyone else. But yeah, they prefer a more relaxed approach. like less is more. They don't want to grow their company at super high pace. They are comfortable living the life they're living. So Ahrefs is in kind of similar situation where our founder and CEO Dmitry, he doesn't prioritize growth over, let's say, some interesting projects that he wants to pursue. For example, we are now actively building our own search engine, and Dmitry allocates quite a bit of resources there, and like some of his attention goes there. Like we don't know like if this is going to work out or anything. So this is just a bet that Dmitry is placing, and this is a project that he's excited about, that he's interested in working on. So when it comes to content, like we didn't again have any specific goal that content should be growing our like leads or sales by this much, or we have to like pour these kinds of resources into content and this should be the output. We were just doing what makes sense. Like it made sense to like, I can tell you a fun story of how I had like this epiphany that we should be creating content that teaches people to use our product. So shortly after joining Ahrefs, I came to local office and saw that was the Wacom thingy, you know, like for drawing. I don't remember what's the name. Like the brand is Wacom, and like you use a pen and draw over it, and it digitalizes your drawings.
Yeah.
So I took it home because my wife is interested like in drawing. She has some like arts education and stuff. We connected this Wacom thingy, Wacom tablet, let's call it a tablet. We connected it to a PC, and like installed the software that came with it. And then like I was lost, like what to do, like where do I click? How do I like open the file? How do I edit it, and blah, blah, blah. So I went to YouTube. I searched for like Wacom tutorial and like 10 tips to use this, like these brushes, blah, 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 getting started guide. And that was like a light bulb moment for me, like ting. So whenever someone signs up for Ahrefs and they get lost, they don't know where to start, if they go to Google and search for something like how to build links with Ahrefs, or if they go to YouTube and do the same thing, like how to do content research with Ahrefs, or how to do keyword research with Ahrefs, they should see content popping up, and this is what would make them stay. So there wasn't like any metric that we were aiming for. It was just like, for me personally, it was a light bulb moment that we have to create lots of educational content, which people would find in all sorts of ways, whether they would search for it or someone would mention it to them like in a private conversation or whatever. But the bottom line, there should be an abundance of educational content on how to use our software and how to be successful with it. And this is what was driving our content strategy ever since.
Makes a lot of sense, especially if you have people signing up or you can use Ahrefs for free, can't you? Before you don't need to like log in, you can play with the free tools, and it makes sense then that.
Yeah, back in the day, we actually had a layer of free access to Ahrefs. So yeah, it makes sense. And we had like, yeah, back in the day, we actually had free 14-day trial. So it wasn't even like some limited free version. You could use Ahrefs to its fullest potential for 2 weeks, just by attaching your credit card and not being charged. So yeah, it made a lot of sense to create educational materials.
I think I've read quite a few blogs and I've seen that, like you would say like how to do this, and it will be very much like go into Ahrefs and then search this, and it's like you can tell you need it. But that's really good for from like a retention perspective.
Of course. I think there are. I tried to recently distill like it was like 7 areas of where content marketing like contributes to our revenue, or like the ROI of content marketing. So the first area is direct leads. So people read the article and they sign up. The second area is retention, because if your existing customers are consuming your content and learning new ways to use your software, that might improve their retention. Third is account expansions. Like when someone learns some cool things that are not supported on their account, they want to upgrade. Or if you help one of your customers like do their business efficiently and they actually grow your business, they might sign up to a higher tier because they have like more people working for them, etc. Then the word of mouth. If you want your existing customers to educate their friends about like how your software is useful or what you can do with it, you have to first educate your customers so that they would pass that knowledge onto their friends. Then you have brand exposure, because like it is like a known psychological phenomenon that people tend to prefer things that they are familiar with. I think if you Google for mere exposure effect, there would be a Wikipedia article about it. And the last one, so it's 6 or 7, I lost count. And the last one was brand affinity, or like thought leadership. So a lot of people want to make sure that they are using like the best of the best. And if you establish yourself like as a thought leader, as people who know what they're doing, this also helps people to make the right decision whenever they are choosing between like similar providers.
Okay. Yeah, I think you mentioned 6.
6. Okay. So maybe I forgot about something.
Yeah, hopefully, or maybe I just wrote one down wrong. That makes sense. So which one of these would you say, has any in particular worked better for you as like a growth engine?
I have no idea, because we are not tracking that. Like, how do you track all those things? It's like it's impossible.
Yeah. Well, would you, I guess, does every bit of content fall into just one of those buckets, or do they often fall into lots of them?
Yeah, I think that certain types of content would be better for certain goals, while other types of content, for example, if you want to generate leads, then the kind of content that can rank for a popular topic in Google and drive passive, consistent traffic month over month over month,
yeah.
Over time, it is the best for attracting leads, rather than a one-off article that doesn't talk about the topic that people are actively searching for, so people won't find it in Google. So for this purpose, of course, you want to write about things that people are searching for, so that you would get consistent traffic. If you want to establish thought leadership, then we're talking mostly about kind of one-off content. This is not something that people would necessarily search for, but it can be some unique idea that would spread like virally across your industry, and people would know, these are the guys who like did this or studied this or like performed this experiment or came up with this innovation. So this is good for like thought leadership and brand awareness and those kinds of things. So yeah, but in many cases you can have like everything in one article, so it can serve multiple purposes easily. But yeah, this is not something we kind of strategically think about. It just like happens kind of like ad hoc. We don't plan for it. We just think, oh, this is a good idea to do this. Let's do this. This is a good idea to do this. Let's do it.
Okay, nice. I like that, because I think it keeps the creativity and the fun in marketing. I think a lot of people like measure everything to death.
Yeah, don't turn your marketing into a sweatshop.
Yeah. I know. There's that. It feels like there's that pressure too, I think, but it's nice if you're, like you said, you're the founder, is not saying we need to measure it like that. What is the content for you that you said some of it generates leads and like passive leads over time? So like how do you design and think about those bits of content? And do you make them like Ahrefs heavy, or do you talk about, like link building in general?
Every piece of content is Ahrefs heavy. We look at our articles as custom tailored sales pages for the topic that a person was searching for. So oftentimes when people have a problem, they would search for it in Google, and businesses try to use Google Ads to put their like websites or landing pages in front of those people. Yeah. So what we're trying to do whenever people search for different problems related to SEO or different knowledge related to SEO, we don't advertise our product. We try to make our content rank there. So our content is kind of the same as landing page, but it doesn't look like landing page. Mm-hmm. That's the difference.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, so it's all Ahrefs heavy.
Yeah, of course. Like if you, I challenge you to go to Ahrefs blog and find me one article that doesn't mention anything, any feature that we have, or any advantage of using Ahrefs or anything like that. Every piece of content that we have would mention Ahrefs in some sort of way and persuade people to try us out.
That's interesting, because there's like I've heard it quite a lot of times before. People would say like just give value, don't talk about yourself in your content.
Or why can't you give, what if your product like gives ultimate value?
Yeah.
So there's no way to not mention it.
I think that's a good point. Yeah. I think if you can weave it in and it's as if, because when I know when I read your content, it's because I have the tool myself. I'm like, this is great. But some part of me is like, if I didn't have this tool, what would I be thinking? I'd probably be thinking, how can I sign up?
So as an example, we could talk about email marketing and like educate people about like some email marketing tricks. And there is no way to mention Ahrefs because we don't really have anything for email marketing. Yeah. But why would we do this if we can talk about SEO, content marketing, PR, and lots of other strategies and lots of other marketing related topics where Ahrefs is super relevant and where we have interesting functionality that we want to tell people about.
Yeah.
Makes sense, right?
Just write, yeah, it does make sense, of course. Yeah, just write more about your specific niche, include yourself, and rank that if you can get that to rank in Google. But that's a good point as well. Like sometimes if it's too product heavy, it won't rank well. Would you agree?
No, why? How? Like, do you think Google has some kind of algorithm that says, oh my God, this article is so product heavy, it shouldn't be ranking? I don't think they have anything like that. It's about the value to people. Google wants to put at the top whatever people find value in. Yeah. So if your article gives value to people, if they stay on your article, if they read it, if they tell about it to their friends, if they link to it afterwards because it is noteworthy, then you will rank regardless of whether you pitch a product there or not.
Yeah. Okay. I think there's that distinction between like being very product heavy but no value, and being very valuable but including your product.
If your content is product heavy and has no value, then you should think about the value of your product in the first place
and how you position it, for sure.
Yeah. How come you talk about your product and like there's no value to people? That's strange.
Mm-hmm. One thing that I heard and I've heard you say is about, I guess, like busting the myths of content marketing. And I think you said like publishing more often, for example. What other things do you think people get wrong and other myths of content marketing, and why are they wrong?
One of them we just discussed. People just don't understand why they publish content. For example, one of my first pieces of advice whenever someone asks like, how do I promote content? I would say like, put some money into advertising it. Like put some money into Facebook ads, put some money into Twitter ads. And there would be a little bit of pushback like, oh, it is expensive to advertise my content. Then my next question, wasn't it expensive to create that content in the first place? Because you were putting in your work hours, maybe you paid designer to design some fancy images and such. So your content has cost.
Yeah.
So, and if you cannot justify to spend some money to actually bring more people to consume that content, to read it, then something is wrong with the objectives of creating that content. Why did you create it? What value does that content bring to a business? Yeah, for example, if here at Ahrefs, we would tomorrow publish an article like 10 creative 404 pages from like random businesses. Mm-hmm. Yeah, why would we advertise this page? Like what value it has to our business? Yeah, people would come and see some creative 404 landing pages, but who cares? But in our case, every article, like I said, it is pitching Ahrefs, and the pitch of Ahrefs is tied to the topic of the article. So if we're talking about link building, we would show you some link building functionality. If we're talking about content marketing, we'll show you what we have in terms of creating like awesome content and such. And then if you have an objective to promote your product within your content, you suddenly don't have problem with investing money to promote it. Because you're basically investing money to promote your product. Your content is just like a segue from an ad to a product.
That makes a lot of sense. I think you're going to drive, in a way, you're going to drive much fewer leads if you advertising content that doesn't really talk about you. If it's just like solve an industry problem. I think some people would maybe argue that just those people might be interested in who you are and then click on your homepage and then work out who you are. But I think the conversion rate is going to be lower than this method.
Well, let's put it this way. I would first start with creating content that is hyper relevant to what your business does. And once you're out of ideas, out of those topics where your thing is hyper relevant, you can go broader and publish those kinds of things where it is not necessarily tied to your product, but you can, like, I don't know, show off your personality and whatnot, and people would get interested, like, oh, like Tim wrote a great article with, I don't know, shrimp soup recipes, or I don't know, let me check out what Tim does like for a living. Oh, he's a marketer at Ahrefs. What is Ahrefs? This is a very long, like, buyer's journey, if you ask me. But yeah, if you're out of hyper relevant topics, you can always go broader and broader and broader. Why not? But again, for example, if you look at Basecamp, what they're doing, they are writing books and articles about product management, about productivity, about running a company, and their software is tied to that. Because if you want to run a productive, successful company, you need to know how to manage your team. You need all the processes to be smooth. And they happen to have like task management software, which perfectly fits the narrative.
Yeah, definitely. Does it fit the narrative nicely, or do they actually include it into the blog post itself, or is it just?
They include it in their books, they include it in their articles, like they do it. Yeah, they don't include it in every article like we do, because the actual topic is broader and they don't necessarily have the functionality within their tool for every kind of management concept that they're talking about. Or like lifestyle design, because they're also talk about like lifestyle, productivity, staying sane, and all that. So they don't necessarily have like apps and tools for this in Basecamp, but this helps them like attract the right audience. And then they would also, like, once in a while, they would publish an article where they actually have some functionality that would be useful to people.
Yeah, that's, I think something you've said before, like how valuable is your product, and if you, like, you can talk about Ahrefs endlessly in articles because there's lots of
yeah.
It genuinely helps with SEO and stuff. One other thing that I wanted to ask you about was about designing content for backlink building. I think that's something that you mentioned in the course. Like, how important do you think is each backlink for actually ranking in Google?
Backlinks are the currency of the web, so to say. This is how Google identifies which content is more worthy of being at the top than all the similar content on the same topic. Because if you think about it, if there are like 100 or 1,000 articles on the same topic, let's say on the topic of how to start a podcast, how would Google know which one of them is the best? How would even people know like which of them is the best? Like, you can, like, if you read I don't know, 20 articles and you are tasked with ranking them by which one is the most valuable and which one is the least, if you give that to 10 people, they would rank them differently. So someone would decide that this article is better, someone would decide this article is better. So how would Google know if people cannot have like consensus on that? So basically, links are essentially votes from people. So if someone has a blog, they read interesting article about podcasting, they would link to it. They're giving their vote. So Google crawls the entire web, collects all votes from all different people. Plus, of course, other than backlinks, they use some other ranking factors. But essentially, this is how they identify which content is the best one.
Yeah. So how do you create content that creates backlinks? Like, what's an attractive backlink?
How do you create content that people would want to tell their friends about? That's the same question. Like, don't think about backlinks. When you think about backlinks, you're digging in the wrong direction. You must think about the utility, the value, the entertainment, the shock, the newsworthiness. Like, you need to create something that people would want to talk about, that people would find valuable and would want to tell their friends about. Backlink is just the consequence of that.
Yeah. Do you have the metrics on like Do you measure backlink build like that come to your website?
No, of course not. No.
You're crazy to you have a tool, you have a software that does that.
Like it's one thing to obsess over, oh, I have 23 backlinks or I have 25 backlinks. Like there's no reason to track this. Our software gives you an overall view. Like for example, if I want to rank for the keyword link building, which we do want to rank for, I spent the past few weeks rewriting our guide to link building. So I put this keyword into Ahrefs and they look at the top pages that rank for it, and Ahrefs tells me, so these pages have like upwards of 1,000 backlinks. So this gives me information on how competitive this topic is and what would it take me to create a post and to promote it hard enough so that like 1,000 individual people would choose to link to my article. It might also require some strategic reaching out to people who have websites. We call them linkerati in SEO, and like showing them, because I can promote my newly published article with all sorts of ads, but this doesn't necessarily mean that my article would eventually reach people who are capable of linking to it. Some people in the SEO space who have their own blogs, but I can specifically reach out to them with my email, like, hello, I'm Tim from Ahrefs. I spent like last three weeks rewriting our guide to link building to make it like the best one, blah, blah, blah. Here are some important things that make it better than the rest. So yeah, check it out. And if you find it useful, maybe you would sometime link to it so that your followers would know about it. That's basically it.
So like actively reaching out to the right people and link building with like that.
Yeah, as a first stage, we would simply promote the guide and see like what happens naturally, because it might be enough for us with our existing audience of people, with our followers, with our advertising budget. We might be able to simply publish an article and promote it enough to acquire enough backlinks naturally, and Google would put us in the #1 spot. But if it doesn't happen, we would have to be strategically reaching out to people who have some kind of websites or blogs about SEO and marketing and such, and telling them, guys, like this guide exists, it is cool, check it out. And maybe later down the line, well, when you will be creating content and mentioning the practice of link building, maybe this should be the guide that you should link to if you want to send some newbies to learn about what it is. So yeah, some strategic personal outreach could be very valuable if you struggle to make your content rank. But yeah, in the first place, your content must be amazing, because if my article would be like 500 word stupid kind of post, I would actually be reluctant to even reach out to anyone and show it to anyone, let alone ask them that they should link to it from their website.
One thing I noticed, like, I mean, I was growing the company I work for now, like very like almost nothing traffic to just like where we are today, but I was actively building links, trying to guest blog and spending ages doing it. And then I started to notice that we had one blog that ranked really well, and in that blog there was just one image that we had created, and everyone was using that image in their own blogs and then saying we were the source. And it was just like every week, instead of me actively doing it, they were taking the original kind of work within that and using it.
Yeah, well, this aligns with what I talked about in terms of making your content noteworthy. So you had something interesting that people enjoyed, you explained some concept in a visual way. They enjoyed how you did it, and they wanted to reference this on their own blogs. This is how people something that they want to talk about on their own websites.
The new, original, noteworthy, exciting, all these things.
Well, there's a cool book. I think it is by Jonah Berger. It's called Contagious: Why Things Catch On, something along these lines. And I think he offers, again, I will be probably wrong with the number, 6 or 7 ways again of what makes people want to talk about content. And yeah, there are like things like newsworthiness, utility, and all that. So I do recommend people to read that book. It's pretty cool. Or at least like go to YouTube and watch a recap from this book for starters.
Yeah, great. I'm gonna look that up after. I'll link it in this as well. I guess like I think I have two more questions or so for you.
Sure.
One of them, yeah, one of them is about like how much time you spend doing things. I think that's an interesting one. Like how much time do you spend writing a piece of content, and then how much time do you spend promoting it, and what do you like think about that in like a split of
Whatever is needed. So whatever is needed to create a great piece of content, this is the first one. Then we would promote it until we're out of ways to promote it, basically. Then we see where it lands. If it lands, for example, number 5, and we want it to be number 1, then we would go and rewrite it again from scratch, especially if we see the flaws in the original piece of content. And usually when you revisit a piece of content, like after 6 to 8 months, you find it terrible and you want to rewrite it immediately. So yeah, what we would do, we would rewrite the piece of content and we would re-promote it again. So, and we would do this in cycles until we create awesome enough piece of content and promote it enough to get enough backlinks from people to rank it number 1.
Definitely.
The cycle never ends, and then someone might kick you out of number 1, so you can be ranking number 1 for a while, and then someone else would create a better piece of content and outrank you, and you have to start all over again. You have to find even more like unique, interesting ideas, or like how to enhance your content, and then re-promote it again to go back to your number 1 position.
Is that, I think I did read somewhere that's like 80% of traffic goes to that number 1 spot or something crazy, right?
Not 80%, but yeah, like the number 1 spot gets the most clicks usually. And yeah, and it drops quite significantly from top 3 to top 5 and from top 5 to top 10, and no one visits the second page of Google search results.
No, never. Yeah. Sometimes I know that a piece of content is not ranking for the keyword, but it somehow is getting some traffic from Google, and it must be that someone has found it by typing in something very
because there's no, like, people aren't like robots. They wouldn't search for the same thing in the same way. For example, you would search for link building tutorial, and I would search for link building guide. So those are 2 different search queries, but they mean the same. Both of us want like an article that would explain how to build links.
Yeah.
So this is why when you are tracking how your article ranks for just one single keyword, it doesn't give you the whole picture. I'm only saying like rank number 1 for a keyword because there's usually like the most popular way how people search for something. And if you rank number 1 for that, you would automatically rank for all sorts of variations also somewhere in top 3. So it only makes sense to obsess like over like the most general way how people search for something, and all the other variations will attach by themselves.
Mm-hmm. What are the, you said you keep promoting until you run out of ways to promote. What are the main ways you use to promote?
Main ways is first to promote to our own audience. So we have our email list, we have our Twitter following, we have some following on LinkedIn, we have our Facebook group. So like seed our content to wherever people are already following us. And then ads, of course, we would promote our content with ads. And yeah, all sorts of ads, like ads, it can be from promoting on Twitter and Facebook to reaching out. For example, right now I see that email newsletters are gaining popularity again, like with a service called Substack or something. A lot of people are launching their newsletters. So you can basically reach out to those people and ask them like, do you have like sponsored slots? I want to promote my content. So yeah, lots of ways to promote your content when you pay for it. And then what you like, you can also promote in communities, but that's not kind of a one-off thing. So you have to be an active member of some community already to be able to promote your content there. If you just search for like 10 marketing communities on Facebook or 10 marketing groups on Facebook, just join them, drop your link there and go away. Yeah, you're going to be banned in a split second. So yeah, you have to first be the member of some communities and then promote your content there. And then like targeted outreach, so reaching out to people who are like who have their own websites and who are capable of linking to you, and making sure that if they haven't seen your content, if they're not part of your email list, if they haven't seen your ads on Twitter, on Facebook, and if they don't belong to the same communities that you do, here, get a personal email. I published this piece of content. It is awesome. Check it out.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Okay. Yeah. Nice. Lots of different ways. I think I linked to your business content blogging course in my newsletter last week. So maybe
Oh, nice.
maybe
Thank you.
maybe you need to sponsor it. You know.
You already linked to it. We don't need to pay you.
Damn.
It doesn't work backwards. It doesn't work backwards.
Cool. I think if I had to, is there like one controversial opinion you have in marketing that people get wrong all the time?
Lots of them. Lots of them. If you follow me on Twitter, like we have like I myself and our company in general, our CEO and founder Dmitry, we do lots of things differently from other people. So for example, one of the things is that we don't use retargeting pixels. And the main reason for that is that Dmitry wants Ahrefs to be a company that respects people's privacy. And when you have a pixel that belongs to Facebook or Google or Twitter, you're basically feeding information about your customers, about people who visit your website to those companies. And who knows how they use this information. Yeah, there has been a lot of debate about it. And Dmitry enjoys the trend or not trend, the idea of internet being a private place. So Ahrefs is contributing in every way we can. Okay. And then other than not having pixels because we want people to have some privacy, we didn't really found those pixels to be useful in our marketing because a lot of people talk about the value and utility and effectiveness of retargeting ads. In my opinion and from my experience, retargeting ads only work if you offer discounts or like any special deals or bonuses. Because if you visit a page, if you visit a homepage of some software or a product or whatnot, and then like you go to Facebook and you see that product again, so what? You just visited this page and you didn't convert. If you see this page again, it will make you convert? Not really. So most of the people who praise retargeting for its effectiveness, they usually follow up with like, here, get like 10% discount if you buy now. This is what works effectively, yes. Yeah. But at Ahrefs, we don't have discounts, which is another kind of controversial topic. I'm telling you, we have lots of them.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, so, yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, like that's, I was happy to hear more and more of those, to be honest. So you don't do
yeah, we don't have Google Analytics. We don't track conversions. We don't like, we are not doing lots of things that kind of conventional knowledge tells you to do. And Ahrefs is a living proof that you can be successful if you focus on a few simple fundamentals and get rid of the all like non-important, non-essential stuff. So I think it is a cardinal sin for SaaS company to not track, wait, what's it called? Churn rate. We are not tracking. I have no idea about our churn rate. LTV, customer lifetime value. I have no idea what is our customer lifetime value. I have no idea about like any of those metrics. And still the company has been growing successfully for the past, I don't know, 10 years or like ever since it was created, because Dmitry followed a few simple principles. Namely, create a product that would be useful to people.
If you're gonna focus on those fundamentals of just like making a good product that is always adding value, and you're a nice company, then you solve the churn problem.
Yeah, too many people think about like the latest growth hacks instead of thinking how to make their product like indispensable and incredibly valuable and more valuable than anything else that exists on the market today. So why would you look for any like growth hacks when you didn't solve how to make your product indispensable for people?
Mm-hmm. Are you VC funded?
No, of course not.
Yeah, so maybe that's also a good thing, like having ownership of the company and not being pressured to grow like this.
Dmitry is the only owner, and he's not interested to sell or to take funding or whatever. I think he could probably become a billionaire tomorrow by selling Ahrefs or like by going for an IPO or anything like that. But Dmitry is a guy who doesn't really need to be a billionaire. He just needs to enjoy whatever he's doing. And this is like amazing. So many people are in the SaaS business or like in our industry because they want to make money. Dmitry is doing this because he enjoys doing this.
That's an important distinction, I guess, between and the direction he takes the company.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Thank you so much, Tim. Like, it's been very insightful listening to you and talking about content.
Sure, thanks a lot for inviting. I hope that was interesting to listeners, and I hope I was able to show them like a different side of running SaaS business or online business. Yeah,
I think definitely you have. Like, everyone is very focused on these metrics and the growth, and I mean that's the premise of the podcast. So having this is very different.
Thanks.